Hey y'all. So, as you already know, we have a super powerful full moon that is coming upon us on August the 19th, 2024, in the sign of Aquarius. And at this particular time, along with the full moon, the energy in the skies are bringing forth chaos, tension, struggle, just thickness, and not necessarily bad, change and transformation and sudden shocking events, all of those things. But we're going to talk about why this full moon and all of those energies at this particular moment in time is doing what they're doing. We're going to talk about those details, tease it out, and describe how it's going to be affecting each and every one of you based on your sun, moon, or rising signs. But first, before we even get into that, let's talk about what a full moon actually is. So a full moon is an opposition between the moon and the sun. And sometimes we can categorize oppositions as challenging energy. It really just depends on what sign the sun and the moon are in, and do those signs or their ruling planets, do they play nicely? Right? So you have the sun and the moon sitting across from each other, giving us our full moon. And in full moon energies bring forth with it a burst of energy. A surge of energy that energizes us to move and to do things, to make action, where we didn't before. So if you had a desire to change something, if you had an idea, if you wanted to do something, and you have a full moon hitting it with its burst of energy, you're going to move on that thing. But full moon's energy is so unrefined, is so unprocessed. It's kind of chaotic in itself, because it's just new and it's just a burst of thing. Although it has an energy of bringing things to fruition. It has an energy of bringing things to light, but it's still untamed because we haven't had a chance to sit with that energy and direct it in the way that we want it to do, and to bring about what we want it to bring about, because it hits us so suddenly. Now, what's special about this full moon and all of its glory, bringing its energy with it, it's going to be very close to us. And so this is why it's a super moon. A super full moon happens when the moon is close to us. So we feel its energy a bit more potently, right? Because it's closer to us. So we have that going on. Not only do we have that going on, we have some other challenging conversations in the skies, or challenging conversations between the planets that are happening in the skies. And I call it conversations because it's easier to kind of convey exactly what's happening. And so if you think about it, think about yourself when you're having a conversation with your best friend, or you're having a conversation with somebody that you get along with. The energy is easy. You're passing ideas, you're laughing, you're keying, and everything is all good because the energy between you and that person, or between you and those people, if it's a group of friends, it's all good. But imagine the person that you don't get along with at work because they always got a snide remark. They always are too critical. They always are very nosy. They always are, you name it. They're doing something that just rubs you the wrong way, or you're doing something that rubs them the wrong way, and the energy between you is just not good. Or every time you get in a room with somebody, you have it's argument, it's frustration, it's, you know what I mean? It's just not easy. And so I like for you to think about it that way, because this is actually what's happening in the sky. It's not the easy conversations that's happening. It's the ones that are hard. It's the one that brings intensity. It's the ones that bring the challenges and the struggles and the conflict. That is what's actually happening. And that is, those conversations are being energized by the energy that the moon is bringing. So what are those aspects or those conversations like that are happening in the sky? Number one, we have oppositions. Number two, we have squares. So oppositions aren't necessarily bad, but they do bring intensity, and it depends on how those planets actually gel or not with each other. So an opposition is the planets standing directly across from one another, right? So like the sun and the moon is directly across from each other. The moon is going to be in Aquarius and the sun is going to be in Leo. That's 180-degree opposition. So we have other oppositions that's coming along. And so oppositions, all of these conversations in the sky, they beg certain questions. And so oppositions, you want to know, the first thing you want to ask yourself when you figure out, is this going to be an opposition, is, okay, what is the level of intensity going to be? Is this aspect bringing balance? Is it bringing challenge? Do these planets get along? Is it a you scratch my back, I scratch your back thing? You do for me, I do for, like, you know what I mean? Like, we get along? Or is it going to be a fight? Do they just not mix like oil and water? That's what you need to find out what's going on. And this is what we're going to talk about. The other type of conversation that's going on is the square. And the square is a 90-degree aspect. It's a hard angle. This is a full-on battle, okay? A full-on battle is bringing tension, it's bringing struggle, it's bringing conflict. And the questions that you should be asking when we're having squares is, what is the solution going to be? Because you have to figure out the solution. Like, what is coming up that's causing this challenge that I have to solve? Right? Also, what squares do is they force you to ask the question, where do I find my strength in this? Right? I know there are certain challenges that I have gone through, and I didn't even know that I had the strength that I had until that challenge, that conflict, that struggle brought it out of me. And so that is what the square is going to do. So it ain't necessarily bad, in my opinion. I'm not going to say I like, because it's not always comfortable, but the squares with the challenging energy that it brings, it always brings the aftermath, is the staying power of what that challenge is unearthing, right? And so when you're having a square, you want to ask yourself, who am I now? Who do I want to be, or who will I be when this challenge is over? Right? And that's all about how you're going to solve that conflict, right? So what is the challenge trying to teach you is what you need to be asking, right? How can I dig deep and find my strength? Okay. And so, yes, people are talking about, oh, you need to go hide under a rock. You need to be scared, and you need to no, you don't need to do that. You need to be brave, right? And so people, yes, they're going to be not acting like themselves. You might not be acting like yourself, but if you're informed, you need to check that. Like, you're here and you're having this conversation with me right now. If you feel yourself being irrational, you need to check that shit. You need to calm it down, right? So what I'm saying is, understand that the energy is going to bring about irrational behavior in people. It's going to bring shocking things out. Things are going to shock you. Right? The energy might want to take something away from you, but no, if it takes something away from you, that thing that is taken away from you, it don't serve you, and it's going to replace it with something that will, either immediately or eventually. Okay. But it's your job to figure out what the energy is trying to move you toward. How are you going to do that? By asking yourself those questions that we just asked a few moments ago, right? And so to become a better you got to figure out what these challenges are actually trying to bring you, right? It's the challenges, it's the struggles that teach you your strength. It shows you the depths of who you are. It rips layers into you. And no, it might not always be comfortable. comfortable, but you know what? You do become better. And right, without having those, you would never know who you can be. You would never know what you can accomplish. So welcome the challenges. Welcome this energy. Know what's going on so that you can use it to get to where you have to go. And understand that whatever experience it brings you, your whole being is going to know why you will or you won't do something, why you will be with somebody, why you won't, why you will do that job, why you won't, why you will put that business in play, why you won't. While you will have that relationship, while you won't. And guess what? Every single last fiber of you, because of the experience that the challenge is bringing you, is gonna know why you will or you won't. And I always tell my son, when you have an experience that moves you in such a way, your toenails, why you know why you gonna do something and why you won't. So welcome this. Don't hide. Be brave. Right? There will be heightened emotions, but keep your composure. And you know what? The composed is always in control. The composed always win. Just be prepared. And this is why you're here, because I'm preparing you, right? So if it's raining, you want to have your raincoat, your rain boots, and your umbrella. If you're going to be stepping into battle, you want to have your spear. You want to have your sword. You want to have your shield. And you want to have your plan. You want to have a strategy, right? Because you can't win without a strategy. All right. So what are some of those challenging aspects that are happening? We're going to be having on August the 18th. So I'm going a couple days. The new moon is actually going to be on the 19th. So we got to get into what the energy is doing on the days leading up to the full moon, because like I said, the energy from the full moon is energizing all of this stuff. And you can feel the energy from this particular full moon at least a week or two before and a week or two after. So on August the 18th, Mercury is moving into Leo, and it's going to square Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus is all about, it can be all about chaos. It jostles you. It's all about shocking. It's about rebellion. It's about all of those things that's unconventional. It's about the freedom. It's about the split. It's about breaking things apart. Okay. And Mercury is squaring that. So Mercury right now is actually in retrograde. So Mercury in retrograde is like, this is another thing. Like, this is another layer of the conversations that's happening in the sky. Like, with Mercury being retrograde, it's an element of things from the past coming forward, right? And you're going to probably learn something with regards to where it touches in your house that you didn't know before. You're going to have a piece of information that you didn't know. It might be shocking in a good way or a bad way, for better or worse. You're going to find out. Okay. Then, the same day that it actually squares Uranus, Mercury is going to join the sun. And sometimes we say that when a planet joins the sun, its power can be turned down because it's being burned by the sun. We call that being combust. But in this case, it's far enough away from the sun where it's going to be getting good shimmers from the sun. It's going to be getting highlights. We call this a cazimi. This is auspicious. This is luck and opportunity. And so that information that you actually might get might be the information that you need to make the move that you need to make, the one piece that was missing from the puzzle, the one thing that was hidden from you. So you might learn something that's like, yeah, okay, I got this. All right. So you can make a move to becoming a better you, right? By having that information. Now, on the 19th, the next day, we have Venus in Virgo, and it's squaring Jupiter. Now, that may not be so bad because Venus and Jupiter are what we call benefics. They give gifts. They bring us good things, right? And so Venus rules our money. Venus rules our love. Jupiter just gives blessing on blessing, and it expands everything that it touches. But in this square between the two, it might be like, okay, it's showing you where you overdid something because Jupiter expands something. So in love, Where are you allowing things to fly that probably shouldn't fly? Where are you sweeping things under a rug? Like, how long have you actually done that? Or how long has your partner allowed you to get away with some stuff? Right now, you just might not be able to get away with it. Okay. Where have you overspent? If we're talking about money, right? Where have you overdone your beauty treatments? Like, you need to slow down on the Botox. Quit with them lip injections right now. I'm joking, but I'm saying, like, Venus rules beauty. And so Jupiter squaring Venus is showing you, like, you OD'd, you overdid it. Chill out. Okay. And in the same day, Venus is going to oppose Saturn. And so that's not necessarily good, because Saturn is we call Saturn the taskmaster, but Saturn is like that teacher that has the ruler that sticks their finger out. No, you need to get back in line. You can't do this. Saturn is the parent that enforces the rules. And so if you got out of hand with your Venus, with Jupiter squaring it, then Saturn is going to come into play and have you put boundaries back in place, like fix things. Like now you're going to have to pay the piper with regards to wherever you OD'd, you overdid some things. And it's a fast moving aspect, so it's not going to stick around for too long. But if you fucked up, then Saturn is going to get you back in line, and you're going to fix whatever you messed up with regards to that Venus Jupiter conversation. Okay. And so that's what I wanted to say about that. Now, child, the biggie, we're going to have, like, we have a T square. We have a T square. So I want you to think, we talked about the opposition between the sun and the moon. The sun is in Leo, the moon is in Aquarius. And then, like, imagine if you drew a line from the middle of them, and out at the end of that midline of that line that you drew from the middle of each, like, you have Uranus, and Uranus is what we call T squaring, like you draw in a T, right? So Uranus is what we're saying is T squaring the moon. It's T squaring the sun. Ooh, child. Now, we talked about Uranus being what it embodies. Like, it represents, Uranus wants to give you freedom, for better or worse. It wants to free you from, if it's not serving you, Uranus is going real quick. Uranus represents lightning, shocking, action, disruption, sudden, wake up, shake up. It's the wake up, shake up. Okay. And so with Uranus squaring, it's trying to bring you something, or break you away from something, so it can bring you to something. Shockingly, surprisingly, abruptly, and quick. Okay? Abrupt is the same thing as quick, but you get what I'm saying. And it brings chaos with it. You know what I mean? Or it can bring chaos. I mean, it might bring you something that have to make you move quick, but it's something that you actually wanted, right? So before this actually happens, okay, let me back up a little bit. So you have Uranus is in Taurus. The moon and sun are in Aquarius and Leo. We talked about that, right? Lord. We have another big aspect or conversation that's happening. And this conversation this is usually not a good conversation. And this conversation is the square between Jupiter and Saturn. Jupiter and Saturn, they just flat out don't like each other. I mean, not for real. Because maybe they like each other. Maybe they do, but this ain't real. This is not a good conversation. And so Jupiter is in Gemini. And Jupiter is in an air sign. And in Gemini, it tends to be all over the freaking place. Yes, Jupiter expands everything that it touches. It want to give gifts. It wants to do all of those things. But Gemini is an air sign. And so it's all over the goddamn place. It's everywhere. There's no structure to it. It's like, and it could be blown out of proportion. Okay. So then you have Jupiter squaring Saturn. And Saturn is like, oh, hell to the no. Like, that Jupiter kite is not going to fly. Okay? No. We need order. We need order in the court. We need boundaries. Are we following the rules? Like, you giving all of these gifts, you allowing all of this kite to fly. Like, what is this affecting? Right? Is this causing chaos? Have you even checked to see how given this thing is going to affect everything else? No, you haven't. And so we're going to put structure to this. That's what Saturn is doing. But before this square even happens, and it's happening on the same day as the full moon, Lord have mercy. It's being energized by the full moon. So it's even bigger than what it would ordinarily be without this energy giving it that boost. Let's back up a couple days, though. Now, on August the 14th, we had Mars going into Gemini. Now, Mars is like, Mars sets it off. Wherever Mars goes, like it's going into Gemini and it's conjuncting Jupiter. Mars is triggering Jupiter. So Jupiter is already expanding. It's already doing what it's doing. Imagine it being triggered by Mars. It's really going crazy. Mars is energizing Jupiter to go ham. Okay? To go ham. It's like, yes, do you. And it's like, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. It's giving. We can't have all these cars on the road because they're going to crash. No, I'm just kidding. But Mars is energizing Jupiter. And then Mars and Saturn don't get along. So just think Mars is like the go, go, go. I don't think, I'm just going to go. I'm going to get shit done. I don't care what havoc I wreak in the process of getting done what I need to get done and getting what I want. And Saturn is and it's young energies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm ready to go. And Saturn is the old, like, gray beard. No. You cannot. You need to calm down. And so on the 16th, Mars squares Saturn, agitating Saturn. Like, nah. Look what I did. I set Jupiter off, and this is going to piss you off. So that's adding fuel to the fire. Okay. But again, Saturn is like, never mind who you thought I was. I'm Saturn, bitch. You are not getting away with this. You're not. Okay? You're not. So it's a lot of stuff going on. And that is what makes this energy so crazy. It is like, we don't know really like what is going to happen. But again, like, we got to be prepared. And at the end of the day, this energy is going to bring us to our better selves, and what it is it's going to make us that much closer, because we are supposed to evolve. We are supposed to grow and eat. And at the end of the day, this energy is helping us to do that. How are you going to use it? How is it affecting you in your chart? Well, we about to get into that right now. Hey, Taurus. So what does the planetary energy hold for you during this time that we're going to be having the full moon on August the 19th, 2024? Let me just emphasize that this full moon is extremely powerful, and it's energizing every other conversation in the sky, making it way more powerful than it would ordinarily be without the full moon happening. So just keep that in mind. This energy is extra important, and it's moving you toward the next evolution of your of yourself. Okay, so let's start by talking about Mercury retrograde. Mercury went retrograde in the sign of Leo on August the 4th. And for you, that is happening in your fourth house. Okay, so first off, Mercury deals with our thought processes, ideas, exchange of thought processes and information, travel, small groups. It rules how we make sense of things. It rules how we express energy, how we not express energy, how we express our thoughts, how we receive other folks' thoughts, how we exchange information and ideas with people, our siblings, our neighbors, things of that nature. And it's in your fourth house family, home, roots, and security, right? It also deals with our instinctive behavior, the mother or the maternal parent or caregiver in our lives, our past to the connection, our connection to the past, and our sense of domestic security, our home life, real estate, things of that nature. Mercury went retrograde in that area. So there's some information there that we need to kind of make that area of life a little bit better. You might be receiving some information from your mom. Maybe there's conversations that you've had with your mom or that maternal parent that where something is missing. Some information is missing. You can't really move forward in conversation because there's something that's not being said. You have to go over it. Maybe you want to move and there's some information that you don't have about move into that property that you want to move to. Maybe you want to sell your house, but there's some information that you're not forthcoming with. Well, this is actually going to be squared by Uranus in your first house, so Taurus. So honestly, I think that you're going to be directing this. You might get a eureka moment and you might suddenly get downloads of information, and that you might give that information to your mom. You might provide that information to the folks that you're selling the home to, or you might get that information about that house and maybe you won't buy it, or maybe you get the inside scoop and you buy the house that you actually want to buy. But something sudden, shocking, something that has a disruptive maybe or sudden and surprising energy to it will cause you to act and move forward with what you need to move forward with in that fourth house. And people want to put forth doom and gloom and scary information out there about this square that's happening. Yes, they can be challenging, and yes, it could present struggles for us, but it doesn't necessarily have to be bad. And the reason why I say that is because, number one, Uranus does deal with shock. It does rule earthquakes and lightning energy and people acting erratic and things like that, but it's not at its fullest strength in the sign of Taurus. Is actually said to be in its detriment. So it's not doing everything that it could possibly do. And plus, it's in your sign and you're the one that's directing the energy. So number one, I do not think that it's that bad. And then it's squaring Leo with the and that brings me to the sun is actually in Leo. So the sun is at home in Leo. It's at its strongest that it could possibly be. You're getting all the good manifestations of the sun. And when the sun is in a good position, it's warm, it's happy, it's joyful, it's creative, it's dignified, it's confident, like it's doing what it needs to do. And so yes, it's being squared by Uranus, but I feel like it's in its power, so it's given goodness. And so Mercury is going to conjunct, it's going to join the sun on the 18th, actually after it squares Leo. But sometimes when planets join the sun, we say it's combust and you don't get its full power because it's being burnt up by the sun. And so it can't extend its full energy to you. But Mercury is in far enough distance from the sun where it will give you its best energy, even though it's retrograde. So I think that it's bringing some information to you that was hidden. And when it joins the sun, that information is not going to be hidden to you anymore. And you're going to be able to make the right decision with regard to the fourth house. Fourth house matters. And so I feel like it's actually going to be a good thing. And yeah, it might shake you up. If you have to move suddenly, you might be moving into your dream house. Like who knows, right? It's good ultimately, I think. But I don't have your chart here, so I can't tell you whether or not it's going to be good. So let's move on. Actually, on the day of the full moon, on the 19th, we have Venus in Virgo, right? And Venus doesn't like to be in Virgo. It feels choked in Virgo. It can't give us all of its highest potential. And Venus rules our money. It rules our love. I keep saying vertical. Virgo is very critical. Virgo is very detail oriented. Virgo can be very choking, right? And just not a fun, like a stick in the mud. And Venus doesn't like to be there. And it's being squared by Jupiter. And guess what? Jupiter doesn't like to be in Gemini. Now, normally Jupiter is going to give us good luck and bounty. It's like the planet of optimism and spiritual growth and things like that. But when it's in Gemini, it's said to be in its detriment. And so you could get some of the more negative manifestations, even though it's a good planet. But I mean, you could be blindly optimistic here. Do things like in excess, like OD, like overdo things, overindulge, and that can be irresponsible. And so how are you overly critical with your love in Venus? Like how are you not really expressing your love in Virgo because you want it to be so perfect and by the book? That's not going to work here. It's being squared by Jupiter, so it's busting at the seams with doing things not right when it comes onto this house. And then it's in your fifth house of pleasure and creativity. So you're not getting the full potential of your creative imagination, of pleasure, of romance, because it's being choked by the energy of Virgo, and that's being exacerbated or just pushed to the seeds, to the limits by Jupiter. But also on that same day, we're going to have a quick aspect where Venus is going to square Pisces in Saturn and Pisces in your 11th house. And so Saturn is the taskmaster. It is the rule keeper. It's going to show you, it knows the boundaries. It knows where you need to, put things in place to get things back in order. So while things might have been blown out of proportion with Venus and Virgo, Saturn is going to get it back together, and it's going to get it back quick. So it's not going to be too long. It's going to show you where you're wrong, and then it's going to help it, snap back. And so it could be, not in keeping with your highest purpose. And so, because it's coming from your 11th, it's squaring Saturn from your 11th house. And so it's not in keeping with your highest hopes and wishes and aspirations and things like that. So you're going to quickly learn like how to kind of balance that information or balance your money, your love and things like that. Because Saturn is going to show you how to actually do that. Okay. Also on the 19th, so we're getting to the full moon, like the big energy. So we have the sun in Leo, right? The sun is exalted in Leo, is at full strength in Leo. And what a full moon is the energy of opposition. Full moons want to bring balance, and they shine light. The sun is shining light across the sky and the house that it is opposite from. So the sun is opposite from Aquarius, where your moon is, and your moon holds your deepest secrets, like things to be true to you that you can't necessarily express. And for one reason or another, you can't really move on those deepest desires, your ideas that you hold true with regards to that house that it's in. So the moon is actually in your 10th house in Aquarius. And so like, what are your deepest desires, your secrets, the things that you want to accomplish, the things that hold true for you in that 10th house, that public eye? What are the things that you want to bring forth publicly, but that you're not because it's being held closely by you on the depths of who you are? Well, the sun is shining a light on that, and it's saying it's time to give these ideas and to give these desires some light. It's time to bring it forth. It's like, call it forward, and it's calling it forward for you to be and imagine yourself, because with the moon we have this idea of who we want to be ideally, and who we want to be ideally, or who you want to be ideally in the public center is being held close, and a light is being shown on that. Like, how are you going to bring that ideal self to light? Right? You don't know how to do it because it's actually being held by the moon. But now it's being squared by Uranus. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because Uranus is in Taurus, and Uranus does not have its full power in Taurus. So yeah, people can act erratically. People can be, explosive, or, it can make you explosive. But Uranus rules Aquarius. The moon is in Aquarius. So I think it's going to get all the good qualities of Uranus. I think you're going to act with impulse and impetus to get your deepest desires out there in center stage. And while it's in the moon, it's untamed, it's raw energy and things like that. That's going to be, the first pop out, right? But as time goes on, you'll be able to hone that energy, and you'll be able to, realize some aspect of your innermost desire. I don't feel like it's a bad thing at all. Okay. Now let's move on to the big dog here. The big dog is going to be Saturn or Jupiter in Gemini squaring Saturn in Pisces. Now, we already said that Jupiter does not like to be in Gemini. So if it doesn't like to be in Gemini, things can be overblown with it. Like Jupiter can be over optimistic. It could be over indulgent in the sign of Gemini. And what does Gemini rule? It rules communication. It rules, our thoughts and how we communicate with people. It rules travel and things like that. Like, so how are things with regards to that house being blown out of proportion? And what are we doing that's irresponsible, or that could be seen as irresponsible? Through our Jupiter, it's squaring Saturn, and Saturn is stronger at this time. So Saturn is going to show you what the boundaries are. It's going to show you how to put order to things. And honestly, this play has been acting out since 2020, and so when Jupiter and Saturn actually had a conjunction. And when you think of a conjunction, two signs coming together, an idea, a seed is planted. And when the opposition happens, that's when the culmination of that idea actually bears fruit. But when you have the square, which I call the midway point, it showed you what's working with that idea and what is not working with that idea. And then through maybe some uncomfortable energy, you're able to, prune out what doesn't work and keep what does, because ultimately that's what squares want to do. It wants to take away what doesn't work, and it wants to keep or give you what does work for you. And so with this energy of the square, it's yes, it could be battle. It's a battle. It's tension. It's struggle, conflict. But the idea here is, what is the solution for you to reach that higher ideal, right? And where do you find your strength? Like, where you get, like, the struggle is really what gives us our strength in life and our will to carry on, or our our backbone to carry on. You know, we got to get that back strong, and the challenges that squares presents give us that strength. It teaches us where to look for that strength, and without those challenges, we don't become who we are meant to become. And so that's what we need to be asking ourselves, like, what is this challenge trying to teach me? And so this square is in your second house. Where are you spending too much money? Where are you not living up to the potential of your self-worth? Right? Where are you giving away your resources, or where are you not acquiring resources where you should be acquiring them? Second house, right? And it's being squared by Saturn and Pisces in your 11th house, your highest ideals, hopes, wishes, aspirations, and dreams of what could be. It's showing you where the boundaries are and how to put items or things in place to get your money together, get your resources together, and have a strong sense of self-worth. Now, that's what we got. Y'all need to subscribe, right? And mention in the comments to me, like, how this energy is teaching you. Don't be scared. Be brave. And again, like I always say, if you have the information, you're prepared. So if it's going to rain, you got your rain boots, you got your raincoat, you got your umbrella. If you happen to be in battle, not a real battle, but I mean, like, if you're struggling to become your best self, have your shield, your sword, and you fight. You fight to become who you need to become. That's what the energy is teaching us. Realize your strength, guys. Like, this is the moment for you to do that, for you to be on the other side of this, who you are meant to be for that next stage of evolution. And so let me know how it's working out for you. Let me know. And until then, keep your hearts open and your spirits connected, guys. Ciao.